Today we're going to look at Design Space and we're going to look at knockout text. However, we're going to be using InkScape because I find that a lot easier to do.
Hi and welcome to Kev's Crafty Corner. Here you can pick up tips, tricks and tutorials on how to get the most from your digital cutting machine. Brother Scan and Cut or Cricut Maker, associated software and Inkscape help if needed. Please subscribe if you find the channel helpful. Enjoy.
So let's switch over to Inkscape. And here we have a nice blank document. Now Inkscape can be a little bit daunting, so don't be frightened with it, because actually it's a fairly straightforward program to use if you keep to the basics and don't try and be too clever with it. So let's see what we're going to do. So let's bring in some text to start off with. So here is the text tool. So we click on there, come onto the page and click there. Now I've set this font up to one I like, which is Arial Rounded Bold, and I've got it pretty big because of what I know what we're going to be doing, but you can select your own font and I'll show you how you do that in a second. So I'm going to put caps lock on my keyboard and I'm going to type my surname, Kevin Knight. Knight obviously. So over here now to select there, so we've got that highlighted, drag it into the middle of the page, only because it just suits it really. And that's very nice, but not too impressed with the spacing of that lettering, so I'm going to double click it to highlight it, and up here we have spacing between letters. I wanted to close it up because it's going to look better when we actually come to do the knockout. So I'm just going to hold my mouse down on the minus and you can see it's closing in the letters fairly slowly. I know from playing with this before I'm going to need a -10. So to speed things up I'll set it at that, but you can play and get it to suit whatever font size that you're doing. So I'm going to click off it. Now one of the things that you need to understand is when you do things in Inkscape is whilst we're doing at the moment, it's an object. We've created an object and that object is text and it tells me that down here. If we just import that into Design Space, it won't like it because it's not a recognizable object that it can work with, because it needs to cut following a path, and a path is generated in a scalable vector graphics, an SVG file, and to do that in Inkscape we need to convert the object of being text into a path that the machine can follow. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to duplicate this just in case it all goes wrong. I do that with Control and D, Command and D on a Mac, which is what I'm using. So we'll copy that, duplicate it I should say, and there's the duplicate. Just push it up out the way. Now let me select the first one again. Now I'm going to convert it to a path, and it's very simple. We just do path, object to path. And now when we look down here, it's a group of 6, still a group of 6 objects, but it's a group now as opposed to saying it's text. What I want to do is combine them together, but the easiest way I've found and reliable way to do it is first of all to ungroup, which is Control U or Command U on the keyboard. So there we are, they're now highlighted. As you can see there's boxes around them all and it's 6 objects still. So I'm going to go to Path Union. Now Union is the equivalent of weld in Design Space. So we now have a path of 150 nodes. Brilliant. What does that mean? Don't worry about it. It just means there's 150 points on there to create the path. And if I click on this one here, this tool here, Edit Path by Nodes, now you can see all the nodes are there, but you don't need to worry about them. We're just going to leave that as it is. So I'm happy with that. Okay. So let's go back to the text and let's put in our names that we want to put over the top of the surname. So let's do Janet and Kevin. Now I'm going to use I Love Glitter, and I know if I do an underscore there, it will give me the little heart shape, which you'll see in a second. So that's there. Okay, so that's the font is the original font of the surname, which we don't want it to be that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the text tool, which is easier to do than the one up here, and I'll show you what I mean. So over here there's this letter T. This is in the Mac version, my layout on the screen. You may find this in the toolbar up the top if you're on Windows, but look for that letter T there as opposed to the capital letter A over there. If you hover over it, it will say View and select font family. So I click that and it opens up a nice box for me here. Lovely. So there's the fonts that's available. Now I'm going to just type the letter I for I Love Glitter, and there it is. So it's found it. Super. Can you see now that heart has appeared? So if I go to apply, we've now got this. Excellent. Just what I want. It's a bit too big though, isn't it? So here's the font size. So if we highlight the font size, and let's knock it down to something like 70 and apply it, and it changes it. I want to change the colour. So to change the colour, you literally just touch down the bottom here in the colour chart and select whatever colour you want. There are other ways of doing it, but this is the easiest way. So let's select that colour for the sake of argument. Now I want that one and that one, so highlight them both, shift and click, so that's brought both together, and I want to align them so they're directly over the top of each other. So we want the align tool. Now you may see the align tool highlighted down here. I've got too many other things there, but it's there, align and distribute, and that will bring up another tool area here. So I can do center, and there it is. Now, clever with Inkscape, if I press the number 3 key on the keyboard, it takes me so I can see exactly what's highlighted and brings it bigger onto the screen for me to work with. So that actually is not too bad a size, is it? That looks quite good. Right, so what I'm going to do with that now, just pick up on the first names, which are in red, and it's showing that it's red there, so I know I've got the right one, and I'm going to duplicate it. So Command D or Control D. So we've now got 2 versions of that, and I'm going to slide that one down so I can play with it. So there's the version I'm now going to modify to form the knockout. Remember, it's text. We don't want it to be text, it needs to be a path. So path, object to path, ungroup, Command and U, and then union or weld. So that's now a full path of the text that I want. So I'm going to change its colour to yellow because I can. In fact, that's a bit, you can't see that really well. Okay, let's try to change it to that. Now this is the clever bit. So we go up to path and we select dynamic offset. And when you do that, you'll notice that the tool has now changed to this edit path by nodes tool. So you can see it's changed from the previous one. And we've got this little diamond has appeared on the top of the text. So you literally click your mouse button on it and drag up. And you can see it's expanding. If you go too far, it starts to make funny shapes everywhere. But there is just quite nice. It might be a little bit too much. Just take it back a bit. So we're about there. Like that. Okay. At the moment it's a dynamic offset, but we want that to be its own path. So just literally go to path, union. And it's now just a path on its own, in its own right. So let's go back up to my red text, highlight it, and I'm going to bring it to the top, which is these up here. So that's at the top. I'm then going to pick up on this one, and I'm using my keyboard up and down arrows to move it. It's much easier using the keyboard and moving around. And then we can put that back so it's in the right position. Okay, good. That's about where we want it, isn't it? We can make sure by moving out this text here. So let's move the red text out of the way. Now what we want to do is knock that out of that. So pick up on that and hold the shift key down and pick up on that. So we've now got the 2 things highlighted, which is the front text, the one we knock out, and the surname text. And we go to path, difference. And there it is. There's the difference. So if we now bring the red one back up to where it was before, come on, up you come. We should see that they align quite nicely, and there's your knockout. And that's how you achieve that. Okay, now there's one other thing that we need to do, because at the moment our red piece is still text, and we know it won't see it if we try and bring it into Design Space. So I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to go ungroup because it's saying it's grouped. So Command U to ungroup, or Control means that you're using it on Windows, and then Path Union. And this time it works. It won't union if you've just converted it to a path. You need to ungroup first and then it will work. Okay, so we're happy with that. Yeah, so I'm going to press number 5 on the key, which will take me out to show all the page. Now I'm happy with what we've done, so I don't need that one there. We can get rid of that. So delete it. And we're now going to save this. So File, Save. And I'm going to call it Knockout Text Tutorial. There we go. And I'm just going to save it as an Inkscape file, which is an SVG. Right, let's go back to Design Space. And let's get rid of that over there. In fact, let's get rid of it. That's probably easier. So let's go to Upload and Upload Image and Browse. And there's my Inkscape one because that's what I normally work it to. And there is my text tutorial. Open. It's an SVG, so we don't need to do anything with it. And we just save it. And then we click on there and we open it. A bit long-winded that, but we get there. Now the annoying thing you'll see there is the size. Now that's coming at really small compared to what we were working with, but it doesn't matter. Just make it bigger and then you'll see it's there. And we've got 2 areas, so if we ungroup them, we can then pick up on the letters and change the colour if we want. So if we want it to be blue, or you want it to be yellow, it really doesn't matter. We can change the colour of the background to something like that. So whatever colours you're going to be working with. But if we select all and align centre, there we are. So that looks lovely. So go to make it, and we should have our two mats ready to make it. And that's how I find it's much easier, and you get a much crisper image, and it gives you more variety and more flexibility by doing it in Inkscape. So I hope you found that useful, and if you have, give us a thumbs up, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks now.